Transportation Committee for May 8th, 2023. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. If there are no changes or additions, we can move on. Seeing none, we will move to our next order of business, is the approval of the April 24th, 2023 Transportation Committee minutes. Did anyone have any changes or additions? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Carter. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. And we are on to reports. Our first report is MTS Director Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, council members. MTS staff and consultants are hosting workshops on May 11th and May 18th to discuss goals and objectives for the 2050 Transportation Policy Plan development. So this work is actually a follow-up to listening sessions that we held all across the region earlier in the year that Cole Henniker reported at the Committee of the Whole meeting on April 5th to you all. So these workshops are really the next step. We're going to ask participants to evaluate potential goal statements and to help inform initial drafts that we expect to have for you sometime in June. Really, these are sort of externally oriented, so we'll be recording them. Council members would be able to listen in on those, but we do have over 80 registered participants from various governments and non-government organizations signed up for our session. So we're excited about the interest to inform our goals. Some participants who we invited are not able to attend, but we'll also have a survey option for them to provide us feedback separately. So we'll be sharing the survey as well with council members to participate sometime in the next 2 weeks. And then we'll continue to report back on this work at future council meetings. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Charles. Any questions or comments? All right, very good, thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to Metro Transit Interim General Manager Leslie Kinderis.
Madam Chair, council members, good afternoon. First, I just want to acknowledge that this morning we celebrated the groundbreaking for the Metro Beeline Arterial Bus Rapid Transit project. So thank you for those of you who are able to attend today, where we celebrated the start of construction. As you likely know, the Beeline is going to upgrade Route 21, which right now is our highest ridership local bus route, and the project is on track to open in 2024. The Beeline is expected to make service about 20% faster through numerous features and upgrades. And as you'll hear about later tonight when we talk about a bus lane business item, Bus Rapid Transit is one of the tools we use to improve speed and reliability, but we have a suite of tools that we do apply to improve the speed and reliability for our customers and improve our customer experience generally. And the other item I just wanted to mention is more of a teaser for your next meeting. We are working on our June quarterly service changes. And at your next meeting, you will receive an update from us on the service changes and our workforce updates. So just wanted to let you know we are bringing more information to this group, but certainly if you're getting questions from people in your district or you have questions about what changes are expected to go into effect in June, please reach out to us. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. Questions or comments from council members? All right. Our next one is our TAAC report. Unfortunately, Mr. Fanley couldn't be here tonight, so he will come back and report at the next meeting. So we'll move on to our business. Our first order of business is the consent agenda. There's one item on consent. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent item.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales, second by Councilmember Vento. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Now we're on to non-consent business. The first item is business item 2023-92, which is Hennepin Avenue and First Avenue Northeast Bus Lane Project. And we have Michael Mechtenberg here to present. And Adam Harrington, welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. I'm Adam Harrington. I'm the Director of Service Development at Metro Transit. I'm here to introduce Michael Mechtenberg. He's our Program Manager of Speed and Reliability. And I just wanted to offer a few comments about our work here. We've been doing this for a number of years and taking our cue from our successes with arterial bus rapid transit when we think about all the tools that go into place to get that 20% faster travel time that we get with arterial BRTs. And while we can't do that on all of our routes in the same timing, we're looking at a number of local routes where we can do that and maybe coalesce some of those features that would serve both local bus routes and future BRTs. And so Michael's done a lot of work on this on a number of corridors of the past several years, everything from bus stop spacing to bus lanes to changing the bus stop location through an intersection to make it faster and more reliable. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michael to present the business item.
Great, thank you, Adam. Madam Chair, council members, good afternoon. Again, my name is Michael Mechtenberg, and my preferred pronouns are he, him. So today I'll be presenting a business item on the Hennepin First Ave Northeast bus lanes. Okay, but first, let's do a quick overview of our speed and reliability program. We started this program in 2018 with the simple goal of improving the rider experience, particularly for riders on our high ridership core local routes. We do this in part by reducing travel times and improving reliability, trying to make transit more competitive with other modes like single occupant cars. One part of this program is called Better Bus Routes. Here, we take a holistic look at a single route to see where improvements can be made. Route 2 was our pilot project back in 2018. Since then, we've implemented 3 more projects, with Route 17 as our current Better Bus Route project planned for implementation this fall. Another part of the program, as Adam mentioned, is bus lanes or other transit advantages within a specific corridor. Hennepin Avenue in Uptown was our first project back in 2019, followed by 7th Street in downtown Minneapolis in 2021. As you can see on the table below, there are several additional projects coming up in the next 2 years. So why bus lanes? Well, bus lanes help us by allowing the bus to bypass traffic congestion and reduce conflicts with merging and turning vehicles. Studies from other regions show that painted bus lanes specifically result in a 40 to 70% reduction in bus lane violations. They also highlight the prominence of transit in a corridor. The red paint is hard to miss and provide a more premium feel for our everyday local bus riders. Specifically, the Hennepin and First Ave Northeast bus lanes were done in partnership with both Hennepin County and the City of Minneapolis. Hennepin County had previously received a regional solicitation grant for bike lane improvements in this segment, and we took this as an opportunity to add bus lanes in conjunction with their project. This area has always been a strong market for transit, with Route 4, 6, 25, and 61 among the local routes serving this area. E-Line will be added to that list starting in 2025. Hennepin County predicts that this project will be just a single year of construction starting next year. So here's a look at some of the cross sections in this area, with on the right being the current, with 3 lanes of through traffic and 2 parking lanes, and the proposed on the left with two lanes of through traffic and both the bus and the bike lane on the right side of the street. Here is a map of the corridor that's broken up into 2 pieces. This is the west portion. So leaving downtown, the bus lanes start on Hennepin Avenue as you approach Main Street. These are one-way streets, so of course we have bus lanes in both directions on both Hennepin and First Ave. And then the second portion of the area, you can see here that the bus lanes extend up to about 7th Street Southeast, which is where the county's project ends. So to summarize, business item 2023-92 requests authorization to execute an agreement with Hennepin County for up to $650,000 to paint bus lanes on Hennepin Avenue and First Ave Northeast in Minneapolis. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Dworshak.
Thank you. That was really quick. One, I'm really excited for this project. So the 3 questions I have are all clarifying questions.
Sure.
So one, I wanted to understand if you're piloting this or is this a permanent proposal? The second question I had was, is this a dedicated lane for all-day use, or is it only for specific time period? And then my third question was, has the county or the city and Met Council coordinated on the traffic light signals that needs to coordinate with this bus lane? Thank you.
Madam Chair, Council Member, three great questions. So this project is not a pilot. It will be implemented permanently with the county's work in 2024. So we won't be doing any traffic cones or any pilot like that. It'll be the red paint right from the go. Right now, the plan is to do all-day bus lanes as opposed to the time-restricted bus lanes like on Hennepin in Uptown. That said, we are working with the city of Minneapolis to look at weekends possibly to utilize that space for parking. They're doing a parking study that is still TBD, but our anticipation is that the bus lanes will be in effect during the busiest times for us. Finally, you asked about traffic signals and signal coordination, TSP maybe. Through the E-line, there will be TSP implemented in a portion of this corridor, and we can take a look at, we'll be taking a look at the signal phasing for the remainder of it.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have an additional question? All right, Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious as to, quote, the life of the paint, given our 4 seasons and how brutal at least one of them can be, as well as the salt, the plowing, the fumes, whatever. What's the lifetime of a paint job like this?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Council Member, I would argue that we have probably 2 brutal seasons here.
I agree.
Yeah, so the paint is actually on this product called MMA, which I should remember the actual word for it, but it's a paint-like product, and it's really the industry standard for bus lanes and bike lanes to some extent. The lifespan is projected at about 5 years, and so we're working with the city to confirm that on some of the areas that we've already painted. 5 years is not as long as we'd like, of course, and we are considering, not for this project, but for future projects, different paint schemes that will either reduce the amount of paint or put the paint in areas that might see less wear.
Councilmember Vento.
And are there, thank you, Madam Chair, are there any environmental factors that we need to be concerned about as a council as it relates to the paint being used?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Council Member, you know, I'm not aware of anything. Again, this is a pretty widely used product. I don't believe that it has any additional environmental impacts beyond normal paint.
Councilmember Carter.
No, thank you very much. As I look at the diagram, the narrowing of the furnishing lane is something that I just wanted to ask about. Could you define furnishing for one thing, and then talk about any impact? You know, typically the loss of trees would be a concern in a neighborhood. This is a little different, but what's the impact of that shrinkage there?
Sure, Madam Chair, Council Member. You know, I would say that the bus lane would be in the existing right of way today. So we wouldn't be planning on expanding the curb to curb distance.
It's not our lane. It's not our lane that's doing it then.
Yeah, right. So if it hadn't been a bus lane, it would have been a traffic lane. I mean, they are adding that bike lane, which does take up some of that behind the curb space. I can provide you more or follow up with more detail on the exact landscaping plan.
Well, I appreciate that. I just wondered about that impact. But as I can see, it is not the lane that we are striping for bus that's making that impact. I appreciate any follow-up.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? I just have one question. You know, we've done this before, and I know it's been some limited time windows. Have we seen changes on traffic flows and things like that in where we've had the dedicated bus lanes in place?
Madam Chair, you know, we have, I'd say, 2 pretty good recent examples on Hennepin and then in 7th Street downtown. Obviously, with COVID and the changing travel patterns, It has made it harder for us to do accurate sort of before and after comparisons. The Hennepin bus lanes are currently using like a parking lane, so there isn't a direct impact to traffic today. But we're certainly seeing benefits for the bus by being able to use that curbside lane. And in 7th Street downtown, I think the transit lane is working well, especially on event days. Downtown, though, sort of broadly speaking, the traffic is lighter than it had been. And so the bus lane seems to be flowing fine, but frankly, general purpose traffic seems to be flowing pretty well, or fine as well.
I think it's a great asset to the system. I'm just sort of curious. I know it's hard to time just by when we started putting these into place, so just was kind of curious. Any additional questions or comments? Councilmember Carter, Tyrone.
Yeah, I had a question. The average speed of that the bus travels, I'd like to know that as opposed to in a bus lane, and if we didn't have a bus lane, what's the improvement? I know there's an improvement, but I was just curious as to what it was in terms of average speed.
Madam Chair, Council Member, those are great questions. So I guess I would broadly say the buses don't speed. They're all going fairly slow. It's an urban environment. What we've seen in terms of with a bus lane versus without, there is an improvement in the travel speed, and I can again follow up with you on the specifics. But what our experience really has been is it's more about reliability. And so we don't really want the buses to be speeding, and that's maybe a more marginal improvement. But what we're trying to do is narrow the band of travel times through a segment so that people can count on that service being there when we say it's going to.
So it's more efficient as opposed to speed. It's the nonstop nature of it. It's the flow.
Yeah,
continuous flow.
Exactly. I would say the bigger benefit, I know we work on the speed and reliability program, but frankly, it's most of the benefit that we see is on the reliability side, and that's true for bus lanes as well.
Okay.
All right. Last call for questions. All right. Seeing no others, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-92.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Dalkar. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we're on to business item 2023-88, which is the St. Paul OMF LRV storage barn, and we have Neal Knopik here to present. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and council members. My name is Neal Knopik. I'm a principal engineer with the Engineering and Facilities Rail Group at Metro Transit. I'm the project manager for the St. Paul OMF LRV storage barn project, which is business item 2023-88. And my pronouns are he and him. So first of all, what is the St. Paul OMF LRV storage barn and why is it needed? It is a light rail vehicle storage building intended to be constructed in conjunction or adjacent to the Green Line facility we have here in St. Paul. It's going to be constructed on 2 adjacent lots that the council already owns. Currently, our facility has room for we're currently running 47 LRVs. And we only have designated storage for 35 at this current time. The proposed storage barn would provide storage for the remaining 12 LRVs that we are shuffling around right now, trying to make room for them. The benefits would be that it would free up our yard tracks for better movement within the facility that we have. It would create space for regular cleaning of trains and address biohazard issues that might be taking place on the trains, and it would create a space for quick LRV repairs, kind of like resetting the air conditioning unit or whatnot on top of them. So where will it be built? As I mentioned, it will be on the 2 adjacent lots next to the Green Line. that we have here in St. Paul. If you're not familiar with the area, our Green Line facility is right adjacent to the St. Paul Saints Stadium. And my car is actually parked right where that little P is over there in the parking lot. So we're attempting to build this storage barn just across Willis Street, which is kind of where that arrow is pointed. Like I said, we own those 2 lots already, so we're not displacing anyone. We're not pushing anybody out. These are lots that we've had since 2010. And it'd just be nice to kind of brighten up the neighborhood and do something with those properties out there. So the next slide is the proposed site layout and improvements. It's kind of more of an engineering schematic, but I'm sure you can all understand that we're going to have to come up with quite a network of track to move trains across Willis Street and into the storage barn. I'll kind of go through some of the finer details of our proposal, but this is just kind of a visual layout. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so this is a lot less talking that I have to do. So project highlights. We're looking at building a building that's about 40,000 square feet. We're going to have parking for approximately 40 employees. This will come in handy during shift changes and whatnot when a lot of people are coming and going at the same time and parking is limited at our Green Line already. We'll have a restroom and an area to store cleaning supplies because we'll probably have some staff over there doing some cleaning of those LRVs, and it's a long distance to come back to the Green Line to use the restroom, so we're going to have a restroom facility out there. We'd like to include a mezzanine to access the roof of the LRVs so that our mechanics can access the roof and do minor repairs to the LRVs without having to move them across the street and into the shop. So it would just make them a lot more efficient and a lot easier for our staff out there. For safety, we'd like to have a perimeter fence, badge reading. We'd like to be able to close it up at night so that people can't get in there and cause trouble. And finally, we'd like to include, we're going to look at the option of including a second traction power supply. We use quite a bit of power out there to move all the trains, and if we add more track and facilities, we may need extra power out there. So we'll have an electrical engineer and a power study person come in and do a study of how much we use and how much is currently available, and if we need more, then we'll have to supply that for it. All right, so evaluation process and costs. So this project was advertised on November 7th of 2022, with the proposals being due on December 21st. We received 4 proposals back from HDR, Stantec, TKDA, and WSP. Each of the proposals was about 70 pages long, so since this was a Brook Acts procurement, we had an evaluation committee take a look at them and go over them with a fine-tooth comb, I guess, is a good way to put it. We went through them and met several times to discuss what we were looking for. So the proposals and our evaluation was based on the quality of the proposal, the qualifications, and the experience of the firm that was supplying the proposal. After several review meetings, HDR was the firm that we selected, and a price proposal was requested. The proposal was then reviewed by a negotiation panel where we talked about level of effort that each of us had done. I actually did the original estimate and had it reviewed by several other engineers. And then we compared it to what they thought it was going to take to actually design this thing. So at this point, we're just looking at the design portion of this project. Right now, the proposal that they gave us and the one we agreed upon was for a design of $3.816 million. And as it says, HDR Engineering was the engineering firm that we decided to go with. So with that being said, the proposed action we're requesting is that the council authorizes the regional administrator to award and execute contract 22P362 for the HDR Engineering Incorporated for design and construction support of the related St. Paul OMF LRV storage barn.
Okay.
With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Neal. Are there questions? Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2, I think, relatively quick questions. I noted the security portion in your project highlights. Has security at the OMF site been an issue? And I'm just curious about the security factor. And I frequently drive by that area coming in from Maplewood on Kellogg, and I often think about that area, you know, in terms of it's not, without light rail and the Saints, there's not a lot of other activity there. So I'm curious about the safety factor.
Well, Councilmember, I don't know. I don't work there at Green Line, but
Okay.
I have been working on a security improvement project that has addressed some of the issues at Green Line and also at the other facilities. But I don't know exactly the crime level we have out there. That would probably be a Metro Transit Police Department question.
Leslie, would you?
Chair Barber, Councilmember Vento, it's a good question. I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but we can certainly look into it and get a better handle on that.
And then just to be clear, this is for the design, and when you talk about the construction support services, that's not construction, that's construction support services, correct?
Correct, yeah. At this time, we're looking for a firm to come in and do the design portion, but also help us once we advertise the project, which is looking to be in about a year and a half. And then they're going to help us with the construction oversight, you know, answering RFIs and design clarifications and all of that. So
Okay. Thank you very much.
that's part of this proposal.
And just as a follow-up to your first question, there is a fair amount of security associated with both of our OMS, but we could get some more information on some of that. So just so you have some background with that. Councilmember, did you have a?
Just to follow up, if I could, Madam Chair, the security factor is a curiosity to me. I was always asking security-related questions when I was on the Environment Committee as it relates to our waste treatment plants. And being that these are high investment but highly necessary systems, whether we're talking about waste treatment or transit, the security factor is just a major one. And with everything going on in the world, both from a technology standpoint and a crime standpoint, it's a concern.
That's a very valid concern, I think, and just educating this group, we've talked about doing some tours and maybe some things that factor in some of that. I know Leslie and I've talked about it a couple of times of some of those things, probably when we shift over to Haywood in the summer, and that would be a really good opportunity to go show some of that. All right, Councilmember Dolker.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions, and they're all related to just making sure I'm informed. I'm still catching up. So one, it would be really good to get a sense of who makes up the panel to decide, you know, which design or which firm to go with. I think that would be really helpful. The second one is, you know, it references biohazards, and I wondered if by law, state, or Met Council policy-wise, what biohazards are we talking about? Two, are you required to inform the neighborhoods to make sure that the cleanup process goes into effect, or that there's a coordination with the neighborhood groups? So that's my second question. And my third question is, if you award this design, then is it safe to assume this would be the entity that will build it for construction, or would that be a separate process? And if so, how much would that be, and when to expect it in terms of timeline? That was a lot of questions, and I appreciate that.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Jody Jacoby, Director of Procurement Department. And I'll answer the question on the evaluation panel. Every project, the evaluation panel is made up of subject matter experts as recommended by the project manager. And the project manager will solicit or name those evaluation panel members based on their subject matter expertise. And then that panel is routed up to the signature authority for approval. And in this case, because it is greater than $500,000, this evaluation panel makeup was elevated to our regional administrator for approval.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Council Member, do you have questions for this specific panel on who is on it, or additional questions about the panel makeup that I can answer?
I think it's less about this like one individual project. I think I was trying to make sure I understand what the process looked like, and I can follow up on if I am curious about who makes up the actual panel. I'm guessing, now I'm making an assumption that the panel makeup is Met Council staff with expertise in different subjects. Okay.
Madam Chair and Council Member, again, every project is unique. Sometimes we'll have different stakeholders on the panel. If there's a financial piece that we want a financial analysis and recommendation for the panel to consider, they may participate as a technical panel member that would give the evaluation panel information to help them determine who's the highest technically ranked. Sometimes if some of the projects involve some of our local partners, those partners will be involved in the evaluation panel. So every single panel is unique depending on the project, depending on the engagement, and depending on the complexity. And on this specific project, it was specifically just council staff.
Madam Chair, Council Member, I can probably expand on that a little bit too. So the council is made of several people that were council staff member, mostly Metro Transit. We had one individual that was a signal expert because with the signals and the track and all that, we needed an expert that could review that and kind of give his professional opinion on the proposer and if they were going to have the staff that was qualified to do it. We had a planner who was great to talk to about how is this going to affect the community, you know, are they writing it for the interest of the community or just, you know, for us. So, and then there was another rail engineer that was on the panel. He's got a lot of experience with track design and switches and railroad crossings and all that, and then myself as well.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
you bet. To answer your other questions, as far as biohazards go and environmental, the property was cleaned and remediated as part of the original Green Line construction. And since then, so we've kept all those reports. There's an ESA 1 environmental study, ESA 2, there was a bunch of other reports that were done. Those were all included in the RFP when we put it out for bid, which was about 1,700 pages. So very extensive reports on the environmental status of that property or those properties. We have since talked to an environmental engineer, and some of those reports are going to have to get updated. So part of the cost of this was to update those reports to make sure that we are building on a site that's clean and not contaminated. And so that's kind of the environmental aspect. So it's something that we're going to take a closer look at once we start the design, and the design engineers, environmental people will make sure that we clean it, remediate it properly.
Okay, thank you.
And then the construction question you had. So this is for design and construction oversight. We're going to come up with a design for the building that meets the City of St. Paul, the Metropolitan Airport Commission, because they're adjacent, and then all of our staff to make sure this is the best building for our money out there. So once we come up with a great design for that, we'll publicly advertise it, and you can probably answer this better than I can, but it'll be open to the public to advertise and then to bid on it, so it'll be publicly bid, competitively publicly bid.
What is the anticipated timeline for the next, go ahead, bid process for the construction?
Sorry, what?
What is the timeline?
Oh,
that?
so the design we're expecting to take just over a year from the notice to proceed.
Okay.
And then it has to advertise for a specified amount of time. I think it's, what, 2 months here or 3? A month?
30 days.
30 days. So it's 30 days. It's 30 days here. And then it has to award, and then we have to have a construction notice to proceed to let the contractor know that they can begin procurement of all the special equipment and then do that. So we're hoping to have this done, I think, in 2026. So it's a year for design and probably 6 months for bidding and advertising and notice to proceed, and then they can begin the construction process.
Gentleman, Manager Kinderas, did you have a
I
comment?
just wanted to build on, thank you, Madam Chair, council members. I wanted to build on Mr. Knopik's answer on the environmental side. You also asked about biohazards, and when we're talking about cleaning biohazards, we're talking about incidents of bodily fluids on our trains and needing to handle that when they are, bring them off the line, clean that up, restore them to service. So just wanted, different than the type of environmental remediation that was addressed, but that's what biohazard is referring to in this case.
That was really helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, additional questions? Councilmember Carter.
Thank you. Very happy to see this moving forward. And I wanted to thank you also for such a vibrant Thrive lens analysis. You know, as I'm seeing this area ahead every point, I'd like to also note that we're looking at the JPA and not the project itself, the design or the construction and development of whatever should end up there. And that in the Thrive analysis, there is a missing piece that may be more appropriate to that side of things when we get to proposal and information and development trajectory. And that is the inclusive development aspects of this work on the equity point. You know, I'm noting the jobs, the housing, the access to destinations, et cetera. And I just want to be sure that when we're moving in that direction, I can understand how it may not have been a focus here with the JPA itself, although the JPA will enable, you know, the thoughts around how to make this an inclusive development project. And then in the language of the Met Council, I'm not exactly sure how that is phrased in our equity objectives. But I just wanted to stop on that and note that as we're looking at these kind of developments, as they apply to our strategic areas and goals, that piece is very important.
Sure,
You know,
if I
that
may.
for our discussion as
So
well.
our next item is the 2023-104, which is the JPA.
Yeah.
Even though these are both St. Paul things, so is that more a discussion for the next one? Just want to make sure that I have it in the right.
Okay, did I mess that up? Which item are we on at this point?
We are on -88, the St. Paul OMF.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I skipped ahead. Thank you.
so they're both downtown St. Paul, so
I
fair
skipped
enough.
ahead.
We're going to take
Yep.
it. All right, very good. Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-88.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vento. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Tyrone Carter. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and motion carries. Now we're on to business item 2023-104, which is the JPA with the City of St. Paul and St. Paul Housing. And we have Michael Krantz here to present.
Madam Chair, council members, I'm Michael Krantz, Senior Manager of Transit-Oriented Development for Metro Transit. I use he, him pronouns, and you feel free to call me Michael. So I'm presenting business item 2023-104, which seeks authorization to negotiate and execute a joint powers agreement with the City of St. Paul and the St. Paul HRA to support the redevelopment of Central Station Block. So for context, this is an exhibit of Central Station Block. The council owns the land shown in blue and green. The green area outlines Central Station, which runs diagonally through the site. All of this property was acquired for construction of the Metro Green Line. The St. Paul HRA owns the land shown in brown here. The council does own a small easement over a portion of that site for a transit shelter. And the intent of the joint powers agreement is to support the joint redevelopment of the site. Essentially, it will allow the council and the city to market our combined parcels as a single site. More specifically, the JPA is intended to govern how the city and the council will work together to resolve site issues, procure a developer for this site, select a developer, and ultimately negotiate development-related agreements with the selected developer. So this is a very important site in downtown St. Paul, and we've been working very closely with our partners at the City of St. Paul to get to this point. There are several additional steps that need to be taken before we'll be ready to move into the solicitation process. Most importantly, we need to address the property interests of the various funders in the Metro Green Line. Ultimately, the timeline for this project is dependent on resolving these interests, and we are actively working on that process. We are also beginning to draft the request for proposals so that once those property interests are addressed, we can move into issuing an RFP. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Carter.
And you already know one that you're.
Yes.
Thank you. I pushed the button and skipped ahead. So I would just frame the question again. The analysis, the Thrive Lens analysis is vibrant, and I appreciate you hitting points there. I wanted to ask the question around the equity analysis because it seems limited and it does not address inclusive development down the road. For your response and also simply for the minds of council members as we move forward.
Sure. Madam Chair, Council Member, thank you for that question. So ultimately, I mean, the way that we approach equity is guided by the TOD policy, which encourages us to focus on increasing access to opportunities. So increasing access to jobs and housing and services and goods that people need to access along transit. Ultimately, how we advance equity depends on the particular site, and we'll be ultimately working with folks internally to determine how we need to do that. And then ultimately that will also be a part of the solicitation process so that it's apparent to any developers proposing on this project that those are important outcomes for this project.
May I follow up?
Yep.
And I know that we'll see small business inclusion specifically as we move down the road toward the proposal for site development. I would wonder, though, where within our goals, from your perspective, and I can ask this for the council as well, we would see that inclusive development inside our goals.
Madam Chair.
I know how you address it.
Sure.
This is actually for the council as well.
Sure. Madam Chair and council members, so I mean, when we've presented these projects in the past, there are a variety of different ways that we've shown how a project represents inclusive development. Often, we talk about it from an affordable housing perspective. Is there affordable housing incorporated into this project along an alignment? But there are so many different ways that we can ultimately show how a project does or does not advance our equity goals. And I think we'll have to have ongoing conversations about how we want to advance those goals on this site.
And I know those are conversations we're involved in and editing for right at this point in time. So I may be late, but I just want to make sure to get that in the notes and look for that as we have those discussions.
Councilmember, it's a great comment. I think that, this is such a critical area and a critical part of downtown St. Paul that we have to be very cognizant how it has to be a site that really addresses a community need, fulfills all these ambitious goals that we have. And I'm really excited to see the partnership kind of coming together between us and the city and the Redevelopment Authority. It's a very big thing to get it to this point, but I think your comments are spot on. Councilmember Dolkar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One request and a clarifying question. One request is, I'm wondering if the joint power agreement is public, if you could upload it here and make it public to everybody, if it's final too. If it's in the works, then don't worry about it. The clarifying question I have is, now I'm making an assumption, and I just want to make sure that I fully understand it. Will this be a joint venture between City of St. Paul and Met Council in deciding what to use the site for, and more than likely, would it be a housing-oriented development?
Madam Chair and council member, thank you for those questions. So ultimately, this business action is supporting negotiation and execution of the joint powers agreement, so it isn't in final form yet. Regarding the second question, the joint powers agreement is intended to govern how we'll work side by side with the City of St. Paul to develop the request for proposals, and then what the panel would look like to select that developer, and then how we would work together with the city to negotiate the many agreements that ultimately go into these. I mean, there are several different agreements that are associated with the project at the end of the day, including a sales agreement, an operations and maintenance agreement, a site development agreement. So this is kind of governing how we work together with the city to get all of those steps complete.
Got it. Thank you.
Very good. Additional questions or comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-104.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, and motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final business item for the evening is 2023-106, which is a fare collection system upgrade consultant contract. And we have Dennis Dworshak and Al Petrie. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. Ed Petrie, Director of Finance, Metro Transit.
Chair, Councilmember Dennis Dworshak, Senior Revenue Manager, Metro Transit. Go by he and him, Dennis.
I go by he and him also. We're here to present business item 2023-106. This is for fare collection system upgrade consultant for contract 22P161. As many of you are aware, we've had our fare collection system. Our current cubic system has been in place since 2004. So it's a system that we've had for many, many years. We've got a lot of use out of it. We've done some upgrades throughout the years. But we have some major investments within that system. And what we're looking at this right now is looking at an upgrade to the current system. So we can still leverage our current investments that we have in all of our capital equipment and still continue to use those pieces of equipment. We're looking at hiring a consultant that would have expertise in this field. That can continue to work with us, look at the proposal, assist in some design, project management, implementation, system testing, and ongoing operations and maintenance for up to a 6-year period. With this proposal this evening, one of the things that we thought we would do is just go through a fare collection system overview like a 101. Just kind of give you an idea of what our current fare collection system is, the different types of equipment that we have, and kind of how it works together. So with that, I will turn that portion of the presentation over to Dennis, and he can walk through. He's more of the expert on the fare collection system than I am, so we'll turn over to Dennis.
Madam Chair, council members, I'll go through a brief overview of our fare collection system that we use today. I know many of you use our system regularly, so you're pretty familiar with it, but I'm going to go through the entire system, and then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at the end. The types of fare payments that we have available right now for our customers is our web store, metrotransit.org. You can go onto our web store. You can purchase any type of fare that you want. You can set up an auto load to replenish your value on your smart cards. And purchase pretty much any pass that you want. Retail partners we have throughout the metro area. Typically it's Cub or the unbanked. Customers can go in there and purchase cards, add value to their cards. In addition to our 2 service centers, one here upstairs in St. Paul. We also have one on Market Avenue in Minneapolis. Mobile app is growing. That's started a few years ago. Our customers can download the app onto their cell phone. They can add value to their cards. They can purchase a pass that can be activated before they get onto the bus or the train. And then the primary system that we use for our fare collection system is the off-board and the on-board. The off-board is the ticket vending machines and validators that are on the station platforms, and then the onboard are the fare boxes and the validators that you see when you enter the bus. The off-board fare, there's 2 different types of designs typically throughout the United States. The first one is the gated system. Gated system is primarily you have a barrier, some kind of a barrier, turnstile, a gate, or revolving door that the customers will have to go through after they make their payment. The other type is what Metro Council has, and that's a proof of payment system. You carry your pass, you carry your ticket with you, and then when the inspector comes by, you show your proof of payment. Off-board fare payments that we have right here at the council. We have the large ticket vending machines. You pay before you board. These are on all the rail systems, all the BRT systems. We also have validators for our customers to tag their smart card. The large cubic ticket vending machines are on the rail lines. These are full service. You can reload smart cards. They give you change if you put in a large bill. They're fast transactions. They're very good for high volume transactions. They issue magnetic transfers that you can use on the buses. And we have about 155 of these throughout the metro area. The cubic validators, that's on the left-hand side of this picture, that's the validator. That's how you pay your fare. You just tap your smart card and it instantaneously takes your value off of your smart card. We also have small ticket vending machines. These are a little bit smaller. We use them on the BRTs. They're a little bit lighter. They're a little bit smaller. They have a small footprint, 2 of them per platform. These also have the option of cellular solar. So if we don't have electricity, we don't have data connections out there, we can use them, and we use them. You will see these at some of the express sites for the state fair. On some of these parking lots, it gives customers an opportunity to purchase their fare at those locations that don't have electricity directly out there. The onboard fare payment, I think most of you have seen this. This is where you jump on the bus and you got the fare box, and that's the first thing you see is the fare box. And on the right-hand side, you're going to have the validator. You tap your card on the validator, you pay your fare. Each validator has different tones for our customers, especially for our ADA customers. They'll know if it's a valid fare, if it's low fare, or if there's no fare or it's an invalid card. So both the operator and the customer knows how to, what value this card is at. The fare boxes, we have 2 different types of fare boxes. Right now, we're starting to phase out the old style fare boxes. The old style fare boxes have been on since about the early 1990s, and we're starting to phase those out. We're putting in new ones. If you've ridden the bus lately, you've seen the new style fare box that looks a little bit different. It allows you to swipe your transfer instead of dunking it. It's a quick swipe. You can just swipe either direction, magnetic front or back, and you can go sit down. There's also other features that we can turn on. Once we finish the phasing in of it, there's other features that we can turn on. It's a significant upgrade. The go-to card system that I've been talking about, as Ed mentioned earlier, we went live in 2004 with this system. About approximately $20 million implementation cost. We were collecting about $70 million annually in revenues from this system right up until COVID started. Been minimal investment throughout the 19 years that we've had this system. And this is what we're getting into right now. Our system is working well, but we're in need of an upgrade. We have 155 ticket vending machines out there. We'd like to retain them, take advantage, leverage all this investment that we've put in throughout the years. We also like to keep all of our validators. All 385 validators, we're adding more for each BRT line. So we like to keep those validators and all the spare parts we have for all this equipment in our technician vans. But what we'd like to do is we'd like to upgrade the system to allow open payments. It's time for us. We've had a lot of questions throughout the years. We've held off a long time, but now it's time for us to move to open payments. Open payments means that you can take your contactless credit card onto the bus, onto the validator out on the platform, and you can just pay with a contactless credit card. And that allows you to have account-based system. Right now, we don't have account-based systems. We have a card-based system where it takes about 2 or 3 steps for the money to get onto your card. It has to go to your card, has to go through the system, goes through the internet, and then it comes onto your card. It could take up to 24 to 48 hours. Once we get this upgrade, it'll be on your card almost instantly. And that's a huge upgrade for our customers. Fare capping. Fare capping is something that we've wanted, is a feature that we've wanted for a very long time. You tap your card so many times per month, and then you've paid for the month. Every tap after that is free. You've already paid your card, so that you don't even have to buy a monthly pass anymore. You just use your credit card. There's other features. We need to upgrade our fare enforcement system. Our fare enforcement readers, we call them HHUs, handheld units, they need to be upgraded. They're old technology back in 2004. We need new technology for those. Replacement, but we're going to replace all the bus validators also, so you can tap your card, your open payments onto the bus. That'll give us very quick boarding. We're going to move from on-premises to on-premises to off to the cloud base. So we're going to be in the cloud now. We don't have to maintain those servers anymore. So that leads us to our business item right now. Right now, what we're asking for the Met Council to authorize the regional administrator to execute contract 22P161 with Clever Consulting Group to provide fair transit collection system consulting support for strategic advice, project planning, design overview, vendor proposal reviews, transition planning, deployment, ongoing operations, maintenance, and the fare collection system, for an amount not to exceed $1.85 million. Do you have any questions?
Councilmember Carter.
Thank you. I got stuck on what an open payment system is. We're still talking about the transit card and not using like your credit card instead of the transit card. Just the open payment system gets it there faster? Is that true?
Madam Chair, Councilmember, that's a very good question. Yes, we will have both. We will still have the card that you can use that you have right now, only it'll be an account-based card. Or you can use your credit card, your contactless credit card. So you have an option to use either form of payment.
You could actually use your credit card
Yes, you can. Yes.
to get on the bus.
Yes, you can. You can just use your credit card,
Okay.
the contactless credit card to
Are
get
they
on the
doing
bus.
that other places right now?
We are one of many agencies that are transitioning over to this open payment system.
Okay, wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Councilmember Chambliss.
Thank you. I've got a couple questions, Chair. My question is regarding the Go Card prepaid versus the account-based card. I'm glad, and I think you answered partly my question, was would you still be able to use your prepaid card? And I'm understanding that the answer is yes. So I don't have to use my credit card. I would still have the option to use my Go Card as I do today. Because for me, a lot of times I've got a bag here, and I'm trying to run to catch the train. I don't want to accidentally drop my credit card. So I personally would prefer to not have to pull out a credit card, especially in certain places. I would want to use my Go Card, so that's something to think about for people to understand. You have the option to use both. And secondly, is the signage. I have used the train many times, and many times you're getting there just before the train arrives, and you still have to pay and swipe your Go Card. Sometimes I swipe the wrong machine and I have to go to the other machine because I don't realize that the one machine is for single pay. So when you're moving really quickly, you may not even notice that because you're not reading on there. So it might be good to address the signage so that people can see which machine is for single use and which is for your Go Card.
Madam Chair, council members, yes, those are very good comments and questions. You will be able to use both types of cards. You can use your credit card, or you can continue to use the go-to card that we have right now. Only it's going to be an account-based card. It's going to be a different card. We're going to have to swap them out. We're going to have to collect all the ones we have out there. We're going to give you new ones, but the new ones will have better technology in them, so you don't have to have that wait before when you add value to it. Sometimes there's the delay before the bus can get back to the garage, and the garage has to communicate Wi-Fi. So that's going to be a significant upgrade that we're going to have also.
Councilmember Chambliss.
So, thank you, Chair. My next question is, since it is account-based, and it would be deducting the fare as it's being used, is it possible that a person could still not be finished with their trip and not have money left in their account? And then would they get stuck, or how does that work?
Madam Chair, council members, yes, you'll know what the value is on your card at all times, and we do allow the customers to go one fare below. If they use up all the value of their card, they can go one fare below and then before they replenish.
Thank you.
All right, additional questions or comments? Councilmember Morales.
Since you're going to have the open payment enabled, are you also going to allow the NFC with the phones, tap and pay?
Madam Chair, council members, we will have Google Pay, Apple Pay will also be enabled, yes.
Thank you.
It will be Google Pay, Apple Pay, not NFC, but it'd be Google Pay, Apple Pay, yes.
All right. Any additional questions, comments? I just want to say, I'm really excited to see this just getting easier. Even the quickness of the time of loading, not having the delay to load a go-to card or something like that. You know, these are the things that we hear about and do become inconvenience for our customers. So, you know, I think this is all headed the right direction, so it's very fantastic to hear about. All right, final call, any questions? Okay, all right, if there's no other questions, I entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-106.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Carter, seconded by Councilmember Morales. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, council members, that does conclude our business for the evening. If there's no objections, I would say all but item number 3 can go consent to the full council. I think the Central Station JPA would make sense to bring to the full council, if everyone agrees. Councilmember Chambliss?
Yeah, I agree. However, I just think item number 4 is a very interesting item. I think it would be good to at least have a presentation at the council.
We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else from council members? If not, I will just thank you all for being very quick this evening because I get to go catch my son's very last band concert. So with that, we are adjourned.